computer. There we go. So hi guys. Well, thanks for joining us at Thursday night. So very happy to see all of you. The ideas of today's Zoom call is kind of to overview of what we're gonna do in this next 5-6 weeks during the challenge, and kind of describe the program, introduce Leanne to you guys, and she will explain her role in this program. Also, we'll have Philip share his experience, because he's one of the people who actually did this program a couple years ago when we did it with that executive health clinic in downtown Toronto. And so maybe he can share a few words, and we'll answer any of the questions you guys have, and kind of will show you how we're gonna move forward. What's the next step? I like to talk, so I thought maybe before I start talking too much, Philip, do you wanna share your experience first, maybe with how you felt during this program, and maybe then I will describe the program itself. You muted, Philip. Can you unmute yourself?
I did that on purpose, but I forgot. I'd be delighted to tell you the truth. When the program was first proposed, I was daunted by the thought of eating at such a restricted time period. I really enjoy food. I really enjoy eating, and I don't take naturally to fasting, but it was it was an opportunity. And the other thing for me is I did it with my wife, Allison, and it made such a difference to be doing it together, to be supporting each other in it, to be eating and not eating at the same time. And to tell you the truth, there was certainly an aspect of it that was challenging. But as the program went on, it just became easier and easier. And Andre, by the end of it, said, okay, two days a week, we're going to go a 24-hour fast. By that point, it was no problem. And at the end of the program, Allison and I both said, let's do this again in a few months. Now, we haven't, but it was transformative. So just let me share with you my experience with that. We had a body scan at the beginning and a body scan at the end, so the percentage of body fat, the percentage of lean tissue or muscle, and your weight. And over the 6-week period, I lost 6 pounds, which isn't terribly impressive. But then you look at the body scan, I'd lost 12 pounds of fat and gained 6 pounds of muscle.
Wow.
So my total loss was 6 pounds, but my metabolism had transformed. And just to follow up on that, my body fat percentage is even slightly lower today, and my body weight is around the same. So it's not that, the goal was achieved and then there was backsliding. It's been easy to maintain and actually build on since that time.
And I can say, Philip's body visually changed in that time. It's very clear how his body really responded very well to that. I was a little bit jealous.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe let me just kind of run you through what the program looks like, and then Leanne will share kind of her contribution to it, what she's gonna do. So basically, we decided to run this program a couple years ago when I was trying to make kind of a corporate deal with this executive healthcare company in financial core. And I wanted to show them how exercise and nutrition in itself could be medicine in its own right. And at that time, I was into longevity research and kind of fasting, intermittent fasting, all the kind of stuff that makes you live forever. And I thought, we will kind of use all my knowledge that I've accumulated to that date and put together a program that not is there only just simply to lose fat, which we knew that's going to happen, but also more than that, we're going to tap into those longevity pathways and, drop the insulin, drop the chronic inflammation, improve the cholesterol profile, all those good things. So, also resetting your metabolism, kind of shifting your body from relying on carbs for energy, which is, fairly limited fuel tank, to allowing your body to access this virtually unlimited fuel, which is to store body fat, which is kind of hard to do, but the only way to do it effectively, you have to shift your metabolism to rely on more fat than carbs. And that's kind of the first week of this program. And as we're going to go through it, it's going to be that's probably the most challenging one when you kind of changing that metabolism from one fuel source to another. And also, as we're doing all that, as we're exercising to do muscle failure, we're depleting in exponentially so much tons of glycogen out of the muscle. We're reducing the calories. And what's going to do is going to also make our cells, your muscle cells, more sensitive for nutrients. So now we're also increasing that kind of muscle cell like nutrient sensitivity. So when you're consuming your calories, as opposed to go and being stored as fat or somewhere else, is going to be uptaken by your muscle. So there's lots of healthy things that happens during this program. So yeah, it's great. We're going to all lose some fat, but it's much more than that. So before, let me just pull this program here. We should say, there is this disclaimer that we have to say that, it's fairly aggressive intervention. So if you on, you can read through disclaimer. And in fact, we're going to ask all people who will participate to sign off that they're okay with it, just for our protection. But if you, on any blood sugar pills or, blood pressure medications, you should get like a doctor's green light before you do this program, because it's going to affect all that stuff. And you might need to, adjust your medications. As far as the going through this document objectives of the program, I just mentioned, the proper outcome, kind of already mentioned as well. Basically, exercise and nutrition, probably the most two powerful sources we know for health and longevity. When it comes to exercise itself, there are essentially 9 main hallmarks of aging, and we know strength training activates all 9. Nutrition activates probably most of them as well. There's kind of 3 main pathways at the top, at the upstream of those hallmarks of aging. Technically, they're called AMPK, sirtuin genes, and mTOR. And at least in animal studies, research shows when you kind of activate or deactivate some of those pathways, it prolongs lifespan in some of those organisms. So this program will activate those pathways. So hopefully it will do something for our longevity as well. Kind of moving forward, measurements going to be optional. We're not forcing people to do it, but if it's just, if you come in person and you want to do just kind of quick body composition, we have so-called in-body scale that takes a fairly accurate measurement of your lean tissue, your fat tissue, hydration, and so on and so forth. So that's, we're just gonna run it for free. It takes about 5 minutes, and that's it. But if you want more measurements, you want, so you take a tape and measure your circumference of your arms, torso, take pictures before and after. It simply takes more time. So then, we'll need to charge you as per the email we sent. So basically, again, measurements are optional. If you want to do it, let us know you want to do it. If not, if you come in person, minimally we will put you on that in-body body scan, so you can at least take, you can know down the road how much lean tissue you lost or gain, or fat tissue, your hydration level, and so on and so forth. The program is composed of essentially 6 weeks. The first 5 weeks are, fairly aggressive. Week 6 is more about kind of maintenance. So the idea of first week is, which I think is the most challenging one, is that when we're beginning to convert to relying on fat for energy rather than carbs. If you know, many of you probably by now familiar or at least heard about keto diet. So basically, it's kind of going to be a, I don't want to put any label because it's really not about selling any specific diet. It's about the principles. And the principles are such, you know, if you want to burn fat, well, you need to lower insulin. Well, the way to do it, you just don't eat carbs, right? So it's a basically it's a keto diet, but it's but don't. I'm not really, you know, trying to sell that diet. It just that's what it is. We do intermittent fasting, and the purpose of the first week is again change your metabolism from carbs to fat. It takes about, I think, 48 hours or so to deplete the liver glycogen out of your system. And after that has been depleted, then the liver is going to start oxidizing fat and using fat for energy and making ketone bodies. So, you know, first couple of days when you go on this program, you probably be okay, but day 2, 3, you know, 4, you might be experiencing what's called like a keto flu. Basically, you're not don't have enough carbs yet, you know, to fuel your organs, your brain, but at the same time, you're really not as efficient yet, you know, making ketones. So there will be, you know, some suggestions we're going to be recommending and, you know, following up with you guys daily, what to do, what not to do during those times. You know, that's where kind of Leanne and I will be available to help you through that process. What, you know, what you can do to speed up that process and make it easier. If you, the one thing I would say, stick to our recommendations because they come from experience, not just because we read it somewhere, we've done it many times, and we kind of know what works, what doesn't. So if you, the more you stick to the recommendations, the faster you're gonna adapt and the better off you're gonna be and the better you're gonna feel. So that's week 1. I think that's kind of the most challenging one. By the end of, you know, it depends from person to person, depending how flexible your metabolism is, you know, shifting from burning carbs to burning fat and so on. By the end of that week, more or less, most people should be, you know, fat adapted, right? The body should start making enough ketones to start fueling your brain, and you should feel in fact, when you become fat adapted, you actually feel way better than before. You have better mental clarity, your energy is sustained at a high level throughout the whole day. You don't have those, you know, like ups and downs the way you typically get from carbs and so on. So you will know you get adapted when you're beginning to feel normal, and then at some point when you're more than normal, actually you're going to feel amazing. But that takes some time. So some people might need to wait until like second week. It depends from person to person. But eventually, within a week or two, everybody gonna get it. So week 2 and 3, we're gonna start kind of cranking it up a notch into those longevity pathways. We're gonna do more or less the same. But now we're going to introduce, in addition on those 2 meals a day, 24-hour fast. And essentially what that means, we're only eating 2 meals. So you would skip either first meal or second meal. So if you skipping dinner, for example, you're just going to go, you know, from lunch to lunch. You're skipping lunch, then you're going to go from dinner to dinner. So it's not that bad. The one thing I would suggest when you do those 24-hour fast, do the schedule workout in such ways that you don't want to work out and then start your fast because you're going to lose muscle 100%. So, you know, you will have to work around, like try to do the 24-hour fast, basically, you know, maybe not right before, not right after your workout. Ideally, if anything, I would work out after a fast and then break fast, but I don't want to work out and then fast because I know I'm going to lose muscle. But we can talk about it as we go. So that's kind of the week 2 and 3. And then week 4 and 5, we're cranking up even an additional notch. We're introducing an additional 24-hour fast. They don't have to be consecutive, even though if you're, you know, brave enough, go ahead, do 48-hour fast. There's nothing wrong with it. But, you know, we generally say you don't have to do consecutive. You can do it on non-consecutive days. What I found when we did this program a couple years ago, by that time, like week 5, 6, 4, 5, enter into week 6, generally people already feel great. They look better. They lost fat. They're happy. Like everybody, like we're very impressed with the results of this program. And you know, week 6, last time we kind of asked people to eat some carbs, and they were not happy about it because they really liked where they were. They don't want to start eating carbs again. So week 6, once we get to there, we will talk about it because what we're gonna do on this program, it's not sustainable. Like you're not gonna live your life, eating 2 meals a day and then fasting every week for 24 hours, right? So then, just kind of have to tweak what works for you. If you like carbs, then you can start introducing carbs. If maybe you introduce like one cheat day, like 1 day a week where you can just eat whatever you want. So there are strategies when you can start modifying what you've been doing, but more or less, maintain your gains and kind of stay there and find a way how you can more or less sustainably eat that way. And so that's kind of going to be the program for this 6 week. And then sometimes in spring, those people who did this and lost, I don't know, 10-20 pounds or how many of body fat, and want to emphasize on putting on some muscle, maybe some guys would like to do it with me. Then we're gonna do another challenge with focus on putting on some muscle. But I purposely wanted to do this program first because when you start eating to put on muscle, you're gonna put on some body fat. It's really hard to do it otherwise. So we wanna cut first, lose some fat, and then start putting up muscle from a kind of a healthier slate. When you have we have some room to add a couple pounds of fat, and then we're gonna emphasize the muscle. So anyway, so this is kind of just to give you a little bit heads up, down the road what I'm planning to do with it, and then by summer we'll be done. So as far as this program goes, so this is kind of the first 6 weeks, as I just described. Supplements. You don't have to do any supplements. We said we just kind of recommending it. There is argument to take fish oil. Fish oil is good for you, right? It's good fats. It's good for the brain. It's good for the inflammation. It also showed it helps to stimulate your muscle protein synthesis. So fish oil have kind of this anabolic effect for the muscle, which is a good thing. Obviously, vitamin D3 is a good thing to take. Multi-nutrient. We're gonna be eating a couple meals a day. We suggest that we should be eating 4 or 5 servings of vegetables, but sometimes it's just kind of hard to get all the nutrients. If you're particularly not very organized like myself, you try to do things last minute. So it's just more like insurance policy. Just take those multi-nutrients just to make sure you're not deficient. Magnesium, also a good thing to take before bedtime. I included branch chain amino acids for one reason, mainly is, if you're vegan or vegetarian, I highly recommend introducing branch chain amino acids with your meal, because it has leucine in it, and you need leucine to send a signal to your body to activate muscle protein synthesis. I want to make sure that when we eat those 2 meals, we're gonna turn the system on and we're gonna synthesize some in muscle tissue. Otherwise, guaranteed you're gonna lose muscle, guaranteed, because it's really hard to hold on to muscle when you're cutting the calories. Super hard. So your protein level has to be very high, and that's why, particularly if you vegan, vegetarian, you should be adding either essential amino acids or branch chain amino acids. Our branch chain amino acids that we sell at Net, it includes electrolytes, and part of when you becoming fat adapted the first week or two, you're gonna lose some electrolytes out of your system because insulin holds on to those. And when the insulin stays low, your kidney will secrete more urine more often. So you're basically going to be peeing a bit more often, which is normal. What that means is your level of your electrolytes is going to go down. The brand that we sell at Net, it includes some electrolytes, so it's good to replenish those. Otherwise, you don't have to. You can just get some other electrolytes from other source. We're going to talk about it with Lan, as we give you support. Or just make sure you increase your sodium intake, particularly during the first couple of weeks. Otherwise, if you're feeling a little bit kind of lightheaded or your heart is kind of going like this, so it's not necessarily, it could be just low on electrolytes. Then, get some sodium quickly in you, and then within like some time, you should feel normal again. So electrolytes are a big deal. Whey protein isolate, again, for those people who think they might not be getting enough proteins during those meals, it's also like a fastest way to get some protein in you. I would recommend, people ask me when to take protein shake during this program. I would say this way: when you work out, and if you're gonna have your meal, I say within a couple hours after the workout, you don't need to take the shake. Just wait until your meal. But if you're planning on having your meal, 3, 4, 5 hours from there, I would take the shake. because otherwise, when you look at research, it shows when you fasted and you do strength training fasted, you lose muscle. So you don't want to lose muscle. So just to prevent that, so I would take the shake. So that's another case where you could use, protein, but shake. You don't have to. And again, if you go with nets, Arrows comes from New Zealand, no hormones, no antibiotics, grass-fed, the purest protein I ever tasted, I ever tried. Like, it's really, all the clients also tell me that they tried all different brands, some give them bloating, this and that. Arrows is like no side effects, is the purest, because it's net. We only put in, our name on good stuff. So that's kind of as far as supplement goes. Again, it's optional, but if you try to get something from us, please let us know, because I might be low on some of the supplies, so I can place an order even tomorrow night and get it by early next week. So we have those macronutrients, fish oil, enough branching amino acids, and I think we have enough protein, but the other stuff, I need to place order because I'm a little bit low. We need to know ahead. So just let me know if you want to buy it from us, then I will know in advance. Drink. So we suggest, consuming 2-3 liters of water a day. Just sometimes you're hungry, think you're hungry, but you could be thirsty. What happens from my personal experience is that when you become, fat adapted, your hunger actually goes down. You're not as hungry. It gets to the point where you don't want to eat. You need to eat, but you don't want to eat, right? So you might find it yourself. So, but anyway, highly recommended to stay hydrated, because you're going to be peeing more than normal, and so you might even get like this big jar of bottle, get some electrolytes, throw them in, and kind of sip on it throughout your day, which is I think that's a great idea. As far as other drinks, it's fasting. That means outside of the windows of when you consume those 2 meals, there should be no any other calories. So when you drinking coffee or tea, so there is no cream, there is no milk, it's black. Okay, so no calories outside of, you're really fasting. Like, those 2 meals is the only time you consuming calories, no snacks, no calories outside of those 2 meals. Foods to include, so we said sodium to replenish those electrolytes. I emphasize high quality extra virgin olive oil. Olive oil is mostly monounsaturated fat, which is good for us, and it basically is oleic acid. And there is some research shows that oleic acid very effectively directly activates some of those sirtuins longevity genes. So we know now, like, through research, it's also good for that. And so when you're consuming fats, emphasize kind of the monounsaturated, kind of the healthy source, like olive oil, avocados, maybe walnuts, those sources. Yeah, you can have, red meat, you can have saturated fat and butter and coconut oil, but kind of depending on your, cholesterol, and if you have high LDL, so maybe go a little bit lower on those and go, higher monounsaturated. If you don't have an issue with cholesterol, just get the fats, whatever source. And we're gonna, Leanne put a document suggesting like what healthy fats, what she can talk more about those different types of fats. Why we consuming at least 60 grams of protein for women and 70 for men. We only eating 2 meals. If you're gonna eat less than that, my worry is that you're gonna lose muscle. I think this is one of the differences I changed from the last experiment. I've suggested a little bit less protein. And to be frank, there were some people, myself included, we show that we reduce lean tissue, not like Philip, but he's not human, who gained like 6 pounds of fat in 6 weeks. I've lost some lean muscle, and I think because I was under eating protein. So we kind of, our muscles can only basically process up to 70 grams of protein per meal. There's no point of eating more than that. If you eat more, it's great. You're not gonna waste it. It's gonna go maybe to your organs, maybe your liver or kidney gonna get bigger, but not the muscle. Muscle can only use up to 70 grams. So maybe 60 grams for women, 70 per man per meal. And this is high quality protein, basically animal source, because it has a complete amino acid profile. That means that if you're eating 2 meals a day, so women will be consuming maybe 120 or so grams of protein a day. We should be minimum, given how many calories you're going to be reducing on this program. And for men, 140 also should be minimum, because it just our hope is, I'm not counting on people, growing 6 pounds of muscle, but what I'm hoping to see that we just lost fat, but we didn't lose any muscle. That's the hope. So that's why the protein intake should be a bit higher. Otherwise, we're gonna waste through some of the lean tissue, which is kind of undesirable. We said about 4 servings of low starch vegetables. Leanne can talk more about it. And that's how much to eat. Yeah, so another, like how much to eat. Try not to stuff yourself. Like, let's say your body needs 2,000 calories a day, to maintain your current body weight. And you fast and all that stuff, and then you eat those 2,000 calories. Well, the body only gonna use so much, the rest is gonna store. So during the next fasting window, you're just gonna burn through the calories you just consumed. So eat kind of normal meal. It's okay to overeat it a little bit, but not too much. Basically eat until you feel satisfied, but not stuffed. The very first meal, the most important one is your protein. Always that, make sure you get your protein on the plate. Then, add some vegetables and then worry about the rest of the stuff, fats and all that. That would be my approach. But yeah, and then when you eat, be careful not to, consume 3,000 calories per meal, because you probably won't lose much on it. We'll lose some, but won't be as effective. So you will need supplements, optional, up to you. If you want it, use your own, buy from us. Just if you buy from us, let me know ahead of time. Large, shake bottle, like something like this. It's my wife's because I couldn't find mine. Home scale, positive mindset, support. So, that's why Leanne's kind of role, she'll describe her role, but she'll be there to support. I will be available as well, but as you know, I'm working with clients, busy all day, so I might not be like available all the time. But Leanne will kind of daily send inspirational quotes and help you guys with the nutritional part. But I will be around as well, kind of, answering some questions too. So we're gonna do weekly Zoom meetings call. Leanne and I were discussing it. We thought maybe on Saturdays at 10 a.m. Kind of, because midweek is hard to find time that works for everybody. Saturday morning you wake up, have a cup of coffee, and then do a Zoom call. We're gonna record those as well, so if you miss it, we will post it. And you know what? Leanne will tell you more about it. Extra cost. Again, if you just want to do quick in-body scan in person, we won't charge you for it. But you want to do other measurements, we will charge you, because our pro business is we sell 30-minute sessions. So if you take out of that 30 minutes, I cannot book a client. We need to charge you for it. So it's $120 for 2 measurements, for 2, before and after. The cost of the program is $279, all that plus tax. And that's kind of there are some Q&As we address here, and I think that's what I wanted to say. And now I will pass it to Leanne and let her share her role.
Hi guys. So just before we get started, has anyone ever done a fast before? Obviously. Oh, okay, good. How long?
Day.
Sorry?
One day.
One day? Anyone else?
Yeah, I've done a 72-hour.
Okay. So
My
I
regular 40 is the longest I've done.
So just as a side note, I've done the first time I did a fast, I did a full week in Santa Rosa, California. And the program that Andre has is amazing. It's science-based. I'm here because I believe in it. It's not sort of some sort of fad, drop 5-10 pounds. But the majority of the people that were there doing the program were there not necessarily to lose weight. That was just sort of a benefit if they needed to. They were there to find balance. They were there for their health, for whatever reason it might be, right? For longevity. So the way I'm approaching this is the program's great. You may lose some weight as you go, but the idea is to have the metabolic flexibility, right? It's about balance. It's about resetting your metabolism. And then whatever your particular goals are, or your vulnerabilities, or your areas where you feel like you need to improve, or even internally with your cholesterol, your triglycerides, any of that kind of thing, those things will balance out on their own. And that's the beauty of it. It's not a one glove, it's not one size fits all. It's your body will do what it needs to do if you give it what it needs, which is what's great about this. So I'm not sure, does everyone have the program outline and sort of the food list and everything yet, or no?
No.
Nothing like that. Okay, so a little bit of a background is, my background was in competitive swimming, and then I did some elite coaching in Europe. But when I came back to Canada and became a nutritionist, my focus was prevention and the immune system and restoration, which again ties into this because regardless of what your goal is, it's going to balance out your immune system. It's about longevity, right? The cancers, the heart disease, the autoimmune diseases, all of those things, along with strength and flexibility, because we want to live longer, but we want to be healthy while we're living. We don't want to live longer and be unhealthy, because that's not fun. So I just want to go over a couple of little things. If you look at the program outline, which you don't have yet, but he's talking about a lot of the longevity genes and a lot of the things that improve, including chronic inflammation. So my role in this is going to be obviously with nutrition and food. So you guys are going to pose questions, and some of you are going to fill out the questionnaire form. And if you do that, then I will look over it. And if there's anything that I see in particular that I think, maybe do a little bit more of this, maybe do a little bit less of that, I'll send you a little message, or I'll bring it up in the group chat, or bring it up as sort of a Zoom sort of topic when we meet once a week. And then of course, as I get to know you guys through the program, sort of how you're feeling, your symptoms, that'll sort of guide me as to sort of what sort of feedback and what kind of area I need to focus on a little bit more. Okay. A couple of quick little things. Do not drink when you eat. Very simple. Some of you probably know it, but so you don't want to be drinking while you're eating. You just want to sip if you're thirsty or you need to. Everyone know that one already?
I
No.
did.
Really important. Really, really important. I know it's simple, but really
Why is it important?
So if you drink and you're eating, you're diluting your digestive enzymes. So you're actually making it harder for your body to digest what you're eating. So it's counterintuitive, but it's actually the worst thing you want to do. So when I say to you that you might have some questions, or if I look over the questionnaire and see some things based on your symptoms, if I see some sort of digestive issues, then I'll make other suggestions, or take this or don't take that, try this food if you have sort of this underlying thing. And it's all personal. So to respect everyone's privacy, I won't have to name names. I'll just make little comments, or it's a topic that I might bring up when we all get together. Okay. Andre talked about sodium, because we're going to be urinating more. We're going to be losing some of that. He mentioned miso. Does everyone eat miso? Okay. Don't boil it. Okay. Does everyone know that? Right. Okay. So what you do is you boil it. You boil the water, but if you want to add other things to it, a great thing to do is to take bone broth, if anyone makes bone broth, and use that to make the soup. Even better, double whammy. But the thing is when you go to put the miso paste in your soup, you do not want the water to still be boiling, because you will kill all the enzymes in the miso that you want from the miso. Okay, so you boil it, then you turn it down to a simmer, then you add the miso, and there, it's perfect. Okay, so I just wanted to make a note on that. And so does anyone use saunas? No one uses saunas? Okay. So the only thing I would ask is that let's not have a sauna. We're in the middle of our 24 or 40, our fast, like our full fast, just because it can drop your blood pressure and you don't want to get dizzy and fall or anything like that. This is definitely these topics about little things you can do for longevity, maybe in week 5 and 6, when we start talking about maintenance. These are great topics to bring up. You don't have to go crazy and jump into the cold bath, but you can do some sauna, cold shower, jump back in the sauna, some alternating exercises that are fabulous. It doesn't have to be long fast going forward. You can tier that and personalize that as well. But I will say that as early as the 1930s, they knew that whether you call it calorie restriction or intermittent fasting or longer fast, regardless of how you sort of tier it, rats, mice, animals, and humans, they just live longer, period. Right? The key is just to do it in a way like Andre was saying, so that you're not losing your muscle mass while you do it. So, but this is great because once we have our metabolic flexibility, then you can kind of go into carbs to gain some muscle, but your body will be able to move back into, if you want to do a little bit of intermittent fasting, and it can move smoothly through it. So it's just a reset to get you there. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions before I talk a little?
I want to comment on this metabolic flexibility personally.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I used to be, all in keto fasting, and then once in a while, I would cheat and on the weekends, and then in a day or two, I'm back into, keto. And I was very flexible at some point. For the past probably 8 months or so, I've been doing the opposite of, longevity and health. I was doing like a bulking up. So lots of calories, lots of carbs, lots of all this stuff. And I started this program myself on January 1 because, I kind of like to start things in January, kind of see how it feels, see if I still have that metabolic flexibility. No problems at all. So even after, 8 months of not being in that ketosis state, like I feel great. Well, sorry, I feel normal, like no keto flu, no, like nothing. And so that tells me that metabolic flexibility, once you build it, it kind of stays with you for quite some time.
Yeah, well, think of it, let's just, to simplify, just think of it a little bit like hoarding, right? Because we have a certain amount of glucose coming in all the time, and our muscle can hold a certain amount of it, our cells or our liver. But then after that, it's like our body is trying to stick it places, right? Literally. And then if we can't use it, okay, we'll send it to the liver, and the liver will repackage it, turn it into fat, we'll stuff it in our fat cells. So no one should really worry too much about having 2 meals a day. You're going to have lots of store there, and your body's going to use the fat. And actually, like Andre's saying, after a couple of days, you just, it's like a keto high almost. You just, all of a sudden, you just have clarity. You actually have more energy, and you don't feel hungry anymore. So it's really just getting over the first day or two. I mean, everybody's a little bit different when they get there, but once you're there, you'll feel great, actually. So it's a good thing. So the list that you don't have yet, we have the sort of the proteins that I highly recommend, and then sort of the fat sources. And we have some approved nuts and seeds and nut butters and things like that. And then what I did for so carbohydrates, we all say no carb, but just to be clear, vegetables and fruit are carbohydrates, but we're talking low carbohydrates. So low starch, low carbohydrate. And so what I did was I took out of all the vegetables, I've given you the list of the lowest content carbohydrate vegetables that exist. And then I've also highlighted like the top 10 that are the even lowest. So, you're all going to eat what you want to eat in terms of from the list. You're not all eating the identical food. So you can sort of pick and choose from it. And then based on your feedback, I'll make some recommendations, and based on some sort of symptoms or, energy, still hungry, these kinds of things, and we can kind of tweak it. And what I will do is I'll certainly point out certain foods throughout each week and sort of, get into it a little bit more about beyond sort of this scope, why you should have them, what they're really good for, and sort of how to tweak them going forward. Because really it's the goal is beyond the 6 weeks, right?
Right.
So hopefully what you take away after the 6 weeks is, I'm feeling great. I've reset my metabolism. I'm down a couple of pounds. I feel fabulous, but now I want to maintain this. And hopefully I've done my job properly if after that you can sort of look at these, macro groups and sort of know exactly how you can put things together, right? So the key is, where's my fat? where's my protein and where's my fiber? Right? Because if you can do that, then you're not going to say, oh my God, I just crashed and I have no energy. Because those three things, if done properly, they're going to keep your energy, your blood sugar balanced. You're not going to go up and then down, up and then down. So.
Leanna, may I ask a question?
Sure.
I stopped eating red meat 2 years ago. So I don't really, I'm a pescatarian. So I eat a lot of fish and a lot of beans, but I don't eat chicken or pork or beef. Is this am I gonna get
That's
enough?
okay. No, that's okay. I was not for a long time, but I was at one point vegetarian for 7 years. And again, it's about balance, right? It's kind of what my body needed at the time. But I absolutely included vegetarian protein sources, and certainly sort of will give you little tidbits to help there as well.
Okay, that'd be great.
Yeah, for sure. Does anyone else have any questions?
I have a couple of questions, so I'll ask one. Just in terms of the timing of eating, and I think it suggested I actually do. I mean, I clicked on the link in the email, and I do have sort of the guide that Andre sent out, or somebody sent out, and it recommends eating, not eating past, I forget, 3 or 5 p.m. or something, but definitely no later than 3 hours before bedtime. So one complication is I play hockey late, and my games are quite late at night, and usually it's an intense sport, so I usually want to eat after that if I fast until I play. Should I try and avoid that?
How late is it? How late is?
I mean, sometimes I finish at 11:30 at night, or anywhere between 8:30 and 11:30 p.m. once or twice a week.
I mean, the key really is, I think, is the 6 hour window. But we also you're exercising, so you're going to want to have something. So Andre, he's not going to finish eating at 5.
Yeah, I would suggest that it's a bit late to consume 1,000 calories at midnight and then go to bed. So eat those meals maybe before, and then do a protein shake, like heavy additional protein shake, 60-70 grams after, at least, so you're not gonna lose some muscle. Then then wake up next day and repeat. But I would not, it's up to you. Maybe just listen to your body, and but definitely protein shake if you wanna maybe consume like a little handful of nuts. Go ahead, because you just your body needs something.
How often are you playing?
I usually twice a week. Oh, sorry, no. But actually, just on his point, I always do drink a protein shake right after I play. So I just, but actually, that sort of segue. Can I do a follow-up question? Because
sure, yeah, of course.
Segues nicely. Just in terms of the fasting, so I know that it's eating in a 6 hour window, and then in later weeks there introduces some 24-hour fasts. And often when I'm doing intermittent fasting, very often I just eat once a day. So it's like a rolling 24-hour fast is kind of my default. Is that problematic for this program? Should I stop doing that and be sure to eat 2 meals a day? Or can I continue with more?
It's a science experiment. Now you're gonna play with the formula, with all the variables. What kind of what?
Well,
so don't do that. I hear you. Okay, so yeah, okay.
So sorry, when you say you were having 1 meal a day, you don't mean every day.
Yeah, I do. I do that often.
So I mean, I wouldn't recommend 1 meal a day for the whole 6 weeks. No, only from your muscle, losing muscle, lean muscle. For me personally, there were people when I did the fast, I did one in Miami as well for a week, and there were people who were like, I'm on day 28, like absolutely nothing but water. But a lot of them were larger and they could lose 26. I couldn't do that. There's no way. So when I got to day 7, I kind of had to throw in the towel because I was losing muscle. So, and again, it depends on what your goal is, right? So if it's just from a health perspective, you're going to get the benefits if you're still having 2 meals a day, but you're having it within that window. Or if it's for something else, then we could talk about it. But if it's just for longevity and health, you're doing well for yourself, having a 6 hour window, and then having a shake, or at least taking your amino acid and some nuts and seeds after you play hockey.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, because when the older studies looked at calorie restriction, it doesn't have to be severe. They actually said they said the sweet spot was actually about, so it wasn't eating and not eating enough and remaining hungry. It was eating to about 70%, 75%. So you're never stuffing yourself. You're always just leaving a little bit and then sort of having some intermittent fasting in between. But what I'm saying is there really isn't only one way to do it and achieve the same benefits, which is great because everyone can kind of tweak it to their lifestyle as we approach week 6.
So I have a question. I did something similar in November. It was a week. I haven't looked at Andre's guide to the diet, but it was a keto diet. So there was a certain amount of, I think we were eating 20 grams of protein a day, 80 grams of fat. So it was a true keto diet. So I guess my question is, because you just said it's different for everyone, are the ketones here going to happen because we're fasting more? Or because now I'm a little confused, because my understanding was, and I haven't done a lot of reading about it, I just kind of jumped into it, and there was a lot of, I mean, I'm a bone broth drinker my whole life, and so that was, the fasting was done with bone broth. So is this different in that you're not telling us like how much fat, you're telling us how much protein so that we don't lose muscle.
Yes.
But is there also a number of, like, a fat intake count that's recommended or not? Or are the ketones being developed by fasting? I guess that's what I didn't know that was possible.
Andre, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, sure. So it's a very good question, actually. The first week, perhaps maybe go a little bit easier on the protein, but emphasize the fast, because it's all about building that metabolism of oxidizing fat for energy. After you keto adapted, you should be prioritizing proteins a little bit more. Again, just to prevent the muscle tissue. But yeah, so the first week, maybe emphasize more fat over the proteins. I agree. It will help you to convert to your metabolism faster, to produce more ketones faster, and so on and so forth. But once you already keto adapted, you can actually start reducing the fat and increasing the proteins. And then on top of it, we only eating 2 meals, so you're going to be fasting quite a bit, and then 24-hour fast, there will be more than enough fat that the body will draw from your storage to make ketones. And yes, you're going to be out of ketosis for those 2 meals, but only because of the high amount of protein, but only for a very short period of time. And then you're going to be back into ketosis very quickly. And again, I don't want to call it ketogenic diet because it is, but I'm very careful not to label it as such, because it's really about following the principles, not, marrying our to any specific diet, right? But yes, it's a very good question. Week 1, go a little bit heavier on fat. Don't worry if you're going to store some, because you want to speed up that adaptation process. But once you fat adapted, you should be, dropping the fats and increasing the proteins.
So after week 1, what you're saying is that your body will know to use the fat stores to produce the ketones?
It depends on person to person, but I would say that's
Right.
would be our estimate. Some people might take 3-5 days, some people might take 2-3 weeks. We're all different.
No. The point is that after, so the reason I'm asking this was because it's quite different than what I did in November, because so I'm just trying to learn about this, because my understanding then was that you need the high fat constantly So that, and the intake of it, not your fat stores, in order for your body to go into ketosis. But what you're suggesting is that once your body is metabolically adapted, it uses your fat. You don't have to keep eating all that fat.
Exactly, because otherwise, that's one of the keto mistakes I've learned, is that you burn in fat, but you burn in fat that you consume from food rather than burning your store body.
Yeah,
Okay.
when people do the longer fasts, they're having only water, and they're using their own body fat to stay in ketosis.
Right.
So, and when I was saying sort of depending on what your goals are, I mean individually more long term. I'm speaking about long term as well, right? Some
Right.
people might want to lose a little bit more fat. Other people are thinking of it more from a longevity health perspective. It benefits everyone, regardless, right? So,
and that's why we're gonna have those kind of daily chats, because I find like first week or two there'll be lots of questions like this, and we will be answering them like day to day, because this is what you guys gonna go through it, some of you at least, right? And this confusion, and then we will kind of give you that support on a daily basis.
and Andre, for muscle maintenance and muscle growth, long term, just doing keto is not.
Yeah, it's not. Like I personally tried, like it's impossible. I tried everything. When I do something, I try it on myself for a few months and I measure everything, and I don't cheat. I do it. And I never was able to grow any muscle on keto diet or like intermittent fasting.
If you think of protein as absolute and not a percentage, right?
Yes.
You're talking keto, people are saying, oh, well,
protein is absolute.
20% protein. No, protein's absolute. And then you can talk about, what you're gonna, what percentage you're gonna use.
Again, I would say the 2 meals that we eat, for women, I would say, 50, 60 grams on the higher end, the better. For guys, 70 grams or even more. Just the rest, the muscles, as I said, only can use so much anyway. But at least 70 grams, 60, 70 grams for guys, maybe 50, 60. It's absolute number, it's not a percentage.
So can I ask another question? So protein without fat spikes sugar, right? It
No.
can't.
Very acutely maybe a little bit, not as carbs, but it's a tiny spike and it doesn't last very long. It's a acute spike. It's not like long one. After like an hour or two, you're back into it. It's gone. So maybe a little bit. Sorry, Lian, you maybe can say something.
Okay.
In general, if we're talking about the program, yes. When we're talking in general, you want to use protein to keep your blood sugar stable, right? Protein.
Right. Rather than, this again is, what I'm learning right now is almost like diametrically opposed to what I learned a month ago. And, because, the literature I was given then, so, if you are having a very lean protein, that's, according to the literature I was given, like, not like carb, but pretty close. The spike in sugar is pretty close.
No, not
unless
close,
you're
not
having.
close. It's very different spike, not close.
Yeah. If you're doing like the traditional keto diet that people are talking about right now, we're doing the very high fat and then very low carb and moderate amount of protein, then it's very important that you keep the fat at that level, right? But this is a little bit different.
Yeah, but also thinking this, if you're doing it for a therapeutic reason, you have epilepsy, you have some medical condition, you have to be very strict. Perhaps that's where you have to be very careful. But for our purposes, what we're trying to do, it's what we suggest, and it's absolutely fine. You're still going to be in ketosis, at least probably like 22 hours a day out of 24 hours.
So fasting more important in this program, would you say? Like the meals are important, but it is like the length of, because we weren't fasting for 24 hours. What is this program? 24-hour fasting twice a week?
It depends. There's 6 weeks. Each week is different. So in the email that we
Okay.
send, there is a link. When you press on it, it will take you to the document describing what we do. Then just
You
look
have
at it
to
first,
read
and you will see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are many benefits from the 24-hour fast. So again, that's what I'm saying. It depends on sort of what your goal is, but the 24-hour fast, it's for longevity, and it also helps give your body a rest, and it's a reset.
Okay. I'll have a look at that. Sorry, I'm sorry I hadn't
No,
looked at it,
don't be
so.
sorry.
Okay, so if you guys,
Questions. I've got a couple of questions. Hopefully they're quick. Is I'm on the fence whether I'll go with the challenge or not. And partly because I've got a vacation coming kind of in the middle, but toward the end, and it'll be hard to work around that. So my question is, I've been a health and nutrition fanatic for more than 20 years, and eating paleo for more than 10, and doing intermittent fasting pretty routinely for more than 2. And so I think that the challenge is not going to be a lot different. And this is true of my brother Dale as well. So it's not going to be a lot different from what we do on a daily basis. So I'm kind of wondering what the incremental benefit might be. This is going to be higher protein intake than we're used to. And I would say, I don't eat keto because it's not high in fat the way you would think of keto, but definitely paleo. No refined carbs, no simple carbs, very low carb. So is it worth, I already feel like, having done particularly intermittent fasting, already adapted. If I skip a meal, skip a day, I don't feel any fluctuations in blood pressure. I can eat this, I can eat that. It's all sort of gotten over that hump. So is it, question one, is there going to be sort of an incremental benefit for someone who's already pretty much eating like this? And number two, particularly with regard to vacation, how does alcohol factor in or not factor in this whole program? What alcohol is allowed? Is it completely, sticking to certain types, certain amounts at certain days of the week, or not at the beginning, or not in the entire 6 weeks? How will that work?
Well, the alcohol may be an issue. When you say that you're already doing intermittent fasting, pretty much, in what way? So
typically twice a day, within an 8-hour window, and fast for 16.
Mm-hmm.
And again, then when I do eat very paleo, so protein and vegetables, and then carbs usually 1 day a week on sort of heavy exercise days. Within a time window after exercising.
Yeah. Well, the alcohol is an issue with the program, right, Andre? So you can't really fit that in.
well, we can suggest.
I didn't really see much in the guide
alcohol.
about what
We have in our the pamphlet that we have at NET, Rob, there is a table shows like preferable alcohol versions.
Yep.
Just look at that one. We'll try to include it in our document as well. So there's some things that you can prefer to that. Otherwise, frankly, I don't think you need this program. It looks like you're already pretty much there with what you try to achieve with this program. But just do it for fun. It's going to be a bit more aggressive than what you do, I think. A little bit more restrictive, a little bit more challenging, and it won't hurt you. It's going to benefit you, but you're pretty healthy to begin with, so it's kind of your choice. But
is the last challenge. I did the muscle gaining, and I gained muscle, but gained about as much fat as I did muscle. So I'd like to get rid of the fat now.
Yeah. To really truly answer, you'd have to kind of see what you're eating, right? I'm sure you're eating healthily. I just don't know what you're eating and what portions of which foods. Yeah.
Fair enough.
And another thing I should mention is that as we get older, we develop this thing is called anabolic resistance. So when I say aim for 70 grams of protein and muscle can only process 70 grams, actually in reality, now I'm thinking you should probably even more, because with age, our body loses ability to digest all the proteins. right? And absorb it. Leanne maybe can elaborate more on it. And maybe that's where you can use some digestive enzymes to help to digest them better. So I would arrow even on the higher the protein, because realistically, the older we got, the older we are, the less we're actually going to digest those proteins and use them.
But yeah, I mean, when I'm saying I don't know exactly what you're eating and what types of foods and how you, there's a lot of healthy habits that go along with it that I would sort of have to see, but it's not what you eat, it's what you absorb, right? So I had actually mentioned Andre about the digestive enzymes. Actually, even some weightlifters, some bodybuilders, they use digestive enzymes because it increases their ability to gain muscle, because it increases the absorption, right? And so the bioavailability of what they're eating. So it's not just, to answer your question, it's not just, I'm eating healthily, it's what are you eating, but how are you eating, when are you eating, and are you eating it in the right manner, sort of thing. You have the intermittent fasting for sure. I couldn't really comment on the rest. I'm sure it's above average, but unless I knew more, I couldn't really say. But digestive enzymes are great, guys. And again, that's sort of with the questionnaires or questions, or as I get to hear your symptoms and get to know you a little better, it's, the gas, the bloating, the this, the that. I mean, there's a lot of sure tell signs about which tell me how well you're digesting. So you can eat all the greatest foods that you want. If you're not absorbing the nutrients properly, they're not helping you, right? And I'm sure there's different enzymes for, fat, protein, carbs, HCl. Some people need HCl, but you can only take HCl, hydrochloric acid, when you're having certain fats and protein. So those are the kinds of things that we can talk about and certainly get into more, and I can help guide you with those kinds of things. Yeah. And enzyme inhibitors, and if you're eating certain nuts or seeds. Is everyone familiar with food combining? Anyone know that term? So food combining was kind of the thing 12, 15, 20 years ago, right before paleo sort of became a big topic and things like that. And really it's saying, I don't want to complicate things, but just as an example, we're talking about digestion, right? And how much you're absorbing. If you're going to have an animal protein, maybe don't have it with your starchy carb, because the body has to do different things to digest different components. And the more complex you make it, the harder it is. So one of the ways, besides removing eating paleo, was just basically saying, if you're going to eat them, don't eat them together. And little things like that make a big difference. Or for example, don't eat your fruit at the end, because it's just going to sit on top of everything else and ferment, meaning it breaks down very quickly. So if you eat a big meal and then you have a big dessert that has a bunch of fruit in it, you're not doing yourselves any favor. You're not absorbing that. You're not going to digest that well, even if you don't have the symptoms, because the fruit only takes about 10, 15 minutes. Whereas if you had a heavy meal before it, it's got to wait now. And it's kind of like a washing machine. So there's little things like that I can help with as well. Yeah.
I have a question.
Sure.
One of the supplements, BCAA, I've not heard of. I looked it up, and
that's the yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say that it's some people react to it. Apparently, maybe it's a particular one that I was reading about, like let's say diarrhea, various digestive things. Can you say something about that?
The leucine, valine, and isoleucine.
Yeah, are those three different things, or are they?
They're kind of three of the three main. They're the amino acids, the three that are in that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or that are part of BCAA.
Yeah, Andre, yours. Do you just have?
So it's
all nine?
it's three amino acids. They call them branch chain because it's not the branch chain amino acids.
Yeah.
The question is, do you need to take it? Do you eat proteins? You don't need to take it. It's mostly if you vegan, vegetarian, and if you're not getting, because and I've explained to some of you already before, in order to turn this switch on, to send a signal to your muscle to switch from being catabolic to anabolic, your body is waiting to reach certain level of leucine, one of those branching amino acids in the blood. It has to be at least 2.5 grams to 3 grams of leucine. And only then it activates mTOR on the muscle, and that activates muscle protein synthesis in the muscle. Then you need to have, extra amino acids and nutrients as a source. But to set the initial signal, leucine level has to be like at least 2.5, 3 grams. So if you generally eating, quality source protein already, and you have a protein shake, you don't need it, frankly. It's mostly if you're vegan or vegetarian and you perhaps not eating enough leucine in that meal to send the signal, then you would complement with branched-chain amino acids.
Oh, okay, I see. I thought it was just one of the supplements that you were part of the program.
No, it's only if you're not eating enough of quality protein.
Gotcha. Thanks.
And certain foods are going to have, and again, this is one of the things that we will discuss and I will send out is these are the foods with the highest leucine, besides the obvious couple of animal meats, but things like that, and a little bit of combining if you're doing, question, go ahead. No? Do you have a
Sorry,
question?
I do have a question. Yes, sorry. It's just about the BCAA or the branched chain amino acids. So if I'm having a protein shake that has all the essential proteins in it, is there any additional benefit to doing like the isolated BCAAs? I basically stopped taking them because I take a protein shake. So
No. If you get enough leucine in that shake, generally if it's a whey isolate, you only need like 25, 30 grams to have 2.5 grams of leucine. So if you had in a shake that has 30, 40, 50 grams of whey isolate, there is plenty of leucine and other, all the amino acids already there. You don't need to take any additional. It doesn't do anything on top.
okay, thanks.
So once the signal is on, you cannot turn it even higher. It's like on and off. Okay, so we probably should start wrapping up. I would say I didn't say anything how to start. Well, anybody who's interested, because we haven't like officially recruited anybody to this program, so just send me an email at info@newelementtraining.com. Everybody knows my email by now. Oh, like our net email, I'm the one receiving those emails. And I will put you, into this program. And then Lian and I, what we're gonna do, we're gonna create a Google like a doc package where I'm gonna put all the documents that you guys need to have access to during this program. We're gonna let you know which platform we're gonna use for group chat, and we're probably gonna get it organized by the weekend, and we'll get everybody kind of to think about it and come to us by the weekend if you can, and then we will send kind of mass email. Okay, so now we're starting and create a little group and start guiding you from there. So, but just let us know, because right now, frankly, I know people are interested, but I don't know who actually gonna do it. So let me know that you're gonna do it. So I know.
And the start date is the 16th?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
All right, guys. Well, it's nice to meet everyone.
Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay,
Bye.
thanks,
Bye.
guys. Good night.
Talk soon.
Good night.
Andre, can I ask a really quick question?
Yeah.
The measurements and stuff. So that has to be, obviously has to be downtown, right?
Yeah.
Because the machines
At
there.
university.
And we have to schedule that. So yeah. So I guess we'll just get in touch.
So I will answer it because I'm recording it and some people listen after. If you want to do the measurements, let me know, and we'll need to coordinate it. I was thinking the best way to do it. First of all, when we put you in the in-body machine, you want to already be on this program for at least like 3-4 days.
Oh,
Because you want to dump the glycogen out. If you see some, otherwise you'll be comparing apples to oranges, my experience.
Right.
And then, so somewhere midweek, maybe towards the end of the week, but no later, we need to find time to see you at university and to do the measurements. Again, if it's just the in-body and that's it, you're happy with it, it takes 5 minutes. We just need to find time when somebody is there to put you to that machine. If you want to do additional measurements, we'll have to schedule half an hour window and then, schedule it and do it during that time.
okay, no problem. That's really my question was the timing. am I trying to get in there on day one or before we start? But if it has to be a few days after, that's ideal because it's flexible.
Yeah, because I find that all the devices that we use, and it's true for DEXA scan in our InBody as well, it's very sensitive to hydration. And as you deplete in glycogen out of the muscles, you dehydrate in your muscle, and the machine will read that you losing muscle and gain fat, which in reality I don't think that's the case. So you want to kind of dump the glycogen first and then measure. So then at the end of the program we comparing apples to apples.
Yeah, I was on the holidays and off the program, off the rails, and then I just started getting back on my fasting routine, and I shed about 7 pounds. So anyway, that's that water.
Yeah, but when you look at the machines, go, oh, you actually gain fat, like which is kind of impossible.
Okay, that's great. I'll yeah, great.
All right.
Thanks.
Great. Thanks,
Okay.
Andrew.
Bye,
All right, guys. Good night. How do I stop
I'll see you
recording this?
tomorrow.
Okay, bye, guys.
Bye.